Hi, I'm Rachel, and I am starting a YouTube channel. I figure now is the time, and so if you might be interested in an elder millennial's perspective on various modes of consumption, whether it's purchasing items or enjoying pop culture and trying to keep up with the cultural zeitgeist, this might be a place for us. And so, yeah, I thought I would start off my first ever YouTube video with a good old classic favorites video. And so, let's begin. So to start, let's talk books. And while I'm not an avid reader anymore, but do consider myself fairly well-read, at least in many years prior, this year I tried to be more intentional with book reading and picked up a few favorites. The first book I wanted to mention is Circe by Madeline Miller. It's a wonderful book. My personal taste is really beautiful, descriptive prose that still leaves space for the imagination, for the reader to infer and fill in gaps. And Madeline Miller, I think, is a great author for that type of work. So the story follows Circe, a minor goddess, but who is probably more well known as having a pivotal role in the story of Odysseus, that story being told by Homer in the Odyssey. So fun fact, is it fun? I actually received my Bachelor of Arts in Classical Civilizations, and while I don't think that I would pursue studies in an ancient Western culture, I couldn't help myself. I really love storytelling and mythology, and one of my first classes in undergrad was an intro to Greek mythology taught by a wonderful professor who was so engaging that it really inspired me to keep going with the subject area. So besides that, I have a soft spot for mythology, especially Greek mythology, Roman mythology. And so I think maybe the book spoke to me in that way as well. Even if you don't have any interest in any mythologies, I think it'd be a great book to pick up. The other book that I'm actually in the process of reading but is already feeling favorite-y is Madeline Miller's other book, The Song of Achilles. That follows the story of Achilles and his best friend and lover, Patroclus. The storytelling is very similar in that it's got beautiful descriptions, it remains subtle, and again has the reader kind of filling in gaps, but being able to still envision what the world that she's trying to create. I do find it a bit different in the sense that not in your face, but some things seem a little bit more direct, but regardless, it didn't take away from my experience, and I enjoy actually that it's a bit of a different experience than having read Circe. Achilles is also the great warrior from the story of Troy, and this is not a spoiler. The Odyssey has been around for thousands and thousands of years. Eventually Achilles makes it to Troy, but I haven't gotten to that point in the story just yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing how Madeline Miller continues the story. Quick mention, I also really love Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. It is a great book about gaming, but also the relationships that are formed, the friendships that are formed around gaming. It has nothing necessarily to do with needing to understand gaming or gaming culture or the gaming world. I think it's potentially more world building in the sense of the reader, but I've seen many people whose tastes I don't necessarily subscribe to completely still love this book, and so I think it's an all-around enjoyable piece of work. So in this series I also want to kind of mention some not so great books in my opinion. Hold on. My doggy is shaking, trying to get off the bed. Sorry if my position has changed. I had to quickly break to help my pup get off the bed. Anyways, and here she is. Poe, you're my all-time favorite. You're my all-time little one. Okay, Yes. Okay, bye. So, my first mention of Mid is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I just did not like this book. I think it's the way the author tells the story. It was a little far-fetched in many respects, and while I was very excited to read a book by an author of Asian descent, and while it's also about a fictional white author committing cultural appropriation on a Asian author, I don't know. There was just something unappealing about the writing style, about the far-fetched concepts. Yeah, not a huge fan. Did I hate it? Well, I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna get in trouble as a person also of Asian descent commenting on a book by an Asian author as not being very supportive of the work, whereas I've also just mentioned works by non-Asian authors that I loved. And I refuse to leave a mention of Mid on an Asian author without mentioning an Asian author that I do absolutely love, who is Gia Tolentino. She has an old collection of essays that she's written called Trick Mirror. Gia Tolentino is an amazing, amazing writer, and her writing style is what I seek to emulate. It's inspiring, it's gorgeous writing. The way that she is able to craft sentences, giving so much information, and yet doing it in such an artful way is absolutely chef's kiss. So maybe pick up Yellowface, but definitely pick up Trick Mirror. Next, let's talk TV shows. So I just concluded season 2 of Wheel of Time, which is on Amazon Prime. I am a fantasy girl, if you haven't been able to tell already through my love of mythology and just imaginative works. Wheel of Time season 2, as someone who has not actually read the books that inspire this series, which is the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan, I found incredibly enjoyable. I've heard that one of the actors who had to leave in season 1 probably had forced production to scramble to change up the narrative so that it would make sense that that character chose to do what they did at the end. But what they've done, as someone who is not well versed in the Wheel of Time story, is seemingly great and really captivated me. I was engaged the entire time. Will I read the books? Should I read the books? If you have read Wheel of Time, let me know, because this series, as Daniel Green, a YouTube content creator, has said, is more inspired by the Wheel of Time book series than it is true to form. I have book 1 and I've been slowly moving through it, and I'm enjoying it, but I just can't tell if watching the show and knowing what actually happens in the books could ruin my experience of the show. And I don't know if ruining my experience of the show is more important than me just trying to find out what happens, because I'm desperate to find out what happens to these characters, or if I should just read it and try to compartmentalize my mind when enjoying the different mediums, right? So yeah, my other favorite current show, maybe my favorite of the Star Wars world, is Ahsoka. Now, I am an Ahsoka fan, also am a huge Sabine Wren fan. You know, there's some obvious feelings of wanting to identify with female characters in the Star Wars world, especially female characters who are played by actors who are non-white. I would assume everyone knew was maybe someone of Asian descent if we were to liken her ancestry. She's a Mandalorian, so I don't know. But anyways, she seems to be depicted in previous Star Wars works as a person of Asian descent, and she's a street artist. She makes beautiful murals, etc., etc. She's a badass fighter. She is, I believe, a tech genius as well. Anyway, she's amazing. I was represented by a Star Wars character, it would be Sabine Wren. One caveat. I'm engaged in that show. I love that show. I love Ahsoka because I loved and really engaged with Star Wars Clone Wars and Rebels, two animated series that are available on Disney Plus. Going through those shows really makes you feel invested in the characters. It makes you feel like you know those characters. So when they appear live action, it's a continuation of their storylines, and you understand what true to form really means. When a certain actor appears in Ahsoka and acts a certain way, there's a feeling of nostalgia and comfort in seeing that character be that character. So I would recommend that if you are going to try and attempt Ahsoka, if you haven't watched it already, I do recommend going through Clone Wars, Rebels, and Tales of the Jedi. That's a lot of TV watching. Disney Plus does offer a select number of episodes that should get you up to speed in order to watch Ahsoka. But like I said, the investment in those characters, the love for those characters, it's amplified if you go through their character development in the animated shows. Let me also do a mention of mid for TV shows. So I love reality shows. I'm not usually a competition reality show person. That being said, I deep dived into the Love is Blind world because there was just so much talk about it. Like I said at the top of this video, I'm trying to keep up to date with the cultural zeitgeist. I want to be on trend. The current season of Love is Blind, which is season 5, is a hot mess. Story-wise, just on the show, not a great season. But these people either did not sign NDAs this time around, or the NDAs aren't being enforced because they are talking up a storm, causing drama, talking drama, revealing things that I think are a little bit too soon. Typically, Netflix and the Love is Blind production company really, clamp down on their people to remain silent until like all episodes have come through. Even sometimes it seems until they do a like 6-month look back on in After the Altar, where they revisit the contestants to see how everything's doing. Have they found love? Are they still in love? All this. But yeah, so while season 5 sucks, it's kind of fun still because it's a hot mess on social media. So watch Love is Blind. Also follow every single one of the contestants on social media until we get the full story, and then let's talk tech. I need a new phone, and so I got the iPhone 15 Pro. It is an upgrade from my iPhone 12 Pro, and yeah, it's a huge upgrade. Photos are better. I have cinematic movie mode both in the front camera and the rear camera now. I have much more storage. I got the 1 terabyte version. What else? There's some other awesome upgrades, and I just love it. Oh, and here it is. I got the iPhone 15 Pro in the blue color. I watched so many YouTube videos on making sure I picked the right color. So everyone on YouTube was saying like, get the new natural color, it's so beautiful. It's like the starlight color that they use for the Apple Watch. But when I went to the store to pick up the blue one that I eventually just decided to get, the natural is like gray. I don't know. Maybe it's pretty for some people, but the nice, beautiful metallic blue was a good choice for me. And I've got a case from Velvet Caviar, which I think is super cute. A little cutesy girl. And a pop socket that has some holographic, iridescent coloring. And yeah, it's MagSafe, so the pop socket just pops right on through the magnet. So yeah, anyways, I recommend if you're in need of a new phone. I'm an Apple girl, by the way, so don't come at me with like Android plugs. It's not gonna happen. The other thing I did buy also was the Airpods Maxes, because I was flying back home to California. I live on the East Coast, and I forgot my AirPods. And impulsively, I decided to buy Airpods Maxes in the beautiful green color. I love the look of headphones. I will say that I think these headphones make me look a little odd, like flattens my head right up here. I also have a big head, so I have to be really careful about positioning them in a way that they don't put pressure on my temples and give me a headache. That's pretty normal, standard when I have like actual headphones. I don't go to the gym with them. I don't work out with them. But what I've done to kind of protect them is to buy Amazon silicone covers. So covers for the inner part of the headphones, the actual netting that where you hear the speakers essentially. And then they came with a protective plastic cover for the outside portion, the metallic area, which is nice because then it protects that from scratching. And to be honest, it's not super weird looking. I don't mind it. But if you do want to retain that beautiful Apple Max look, yeah, it changes up the look. Would I recommend them? They're very expensive. I don't know if I would recommend them, but I bought them. So I'm gonna love them. I'm gonna force myself to, because they're ridiculous. Next, I just want to share some real quick music that I've been listening to. So I used to be a huge music buff. I have a full-time job, and my spare time is divided between so many different interests that I don't always listen to music as part of that free time. Oh, and also as part of my job, I now work remotely. Listening to music used to be much more of a daily routine because of the commute. I don't have a commute anymore, so I've had to force myself to search for new music. And I saw a post recently that said, now's the time to listen to new music so that Spotify Wrapped will show a much more impressive list than the truth, which, to be honest, if Spotify Wrapped were today, it would just be Beyonce. But anyways, back to my music favorites. I'm listening to the band Leisure. Beautiful, electronic, dancey, poppy music. I actually had some of their songs, but really deep dived into their music catalog because one of my favorite female gamers was sharing that she was obsessed with the new Leisure album. I'm also listening to The Japanese House, which came as a recommendation through Spotify, and I've been really enjoying her music. And Elio, mainly Elio's 2 songs, which I will list here, and all of these, by the way, I will put in the description below. Games. So I'm not a gamer. I'm never gonna claim that. I like to play games, and I especially like to play games that have an easy mode where I can enjoy the story and not have to be so strategic with what weapons I use or which buttons I press to get a certain fight move. If you are a gamer and have found this video, look, I'm not trying to say that I am one of you. I am just saying I want to be able to know what you're experiencing somewhat, just a little bit, and I'm just not as good as you. Anyways, so the game I actually just finished, surprisingly, is Jedi Survivor, again, with the Star Wars thing. I know. I will tell you that the way I got interested in the Star Wars universe is through Knights of the Old Republic, which is a game that is set thousands and thousands of years before the main Star Wars storylines. Jedi Survivor is actually the second in a series that follow Cal Kestis, a former Jedi, a youngling from the Jedi Academy who fled after, am I spoiling things? Fled after a certain order was issued. So Jedi Survivor was really fun. I also played its precursor, the first of the game series, Jedi Fallen Order, which I very much enjoyed, and I finished actually during lockdown in 2020. Jedi Survivor is fun. I enjoyed the storyline. I can see some interesting repercussions. To be honest, both games, they didn't hit me as hard as like Knights of the Old Republic, but the world building, the things that they add to the world of Star Wars and to the history and ancestry of, say, the Jedi or the Sith, or to worlds in general, building the story of Dathomir. Anyways, if you're like me and you want a game but you're not adept with the buttons, play it on easy mode and see if you like it. So I don't know if this one's a favorite, but I'm currently playing Cyberpunk 2077. It was buggy when it was released last year, so I didn't pick it up, but now they've done a major update, which is supposed to resolve most of the bugs. It feels kind of wonky. I'm still getting my bearings and my footing in this world. There is also a new expansion called Phantom Liberty, which I've heard has an amazing storyline. Something to note is that it stars Keanu Reeves, and Phantom Liberty, the expansion, stars Idris Elba. And so at least there's eye candy, even if I end up not liking the game or not enjoying the gameplay. I guess I'll keep you posted as to how that goes in my very novice, amateurish gameplay of these things, you know? Don't expect me on Twitch. I don't need to get roasted. So I guess I'm starting off this channel with a little bit of a nerdy look in my interest. This is what I'm liking. This is what I am enjoying. Other things I do enjoy are beauty and lifestyle, and if I had something to share on those topics, I definitely will in the future. So yeah, so I hope that this was a bit interesting. So yeah, so I think this is a good video as an introduction to me, sharing some of my interests, giving a little look as to what I enjoy, what I might be talking about on this channel. And if you want to stay along, I encourage you to subscribe. Thanks. Bye.